Come on, Jimmy, come on.
Hey everybody, Spooky Appalachia here. I'm Jimmy.
This Donald.
Yep. We are deep in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains.
Well, technically we live in the Appalachian Mountains too.
Oh yeah.
Just 3 hours south. Of here.
Yeah. We live a little ways away from here. So we are in Williamson, West Virginia, at the hospital on College Hill. You've probably seen it on Destination Fear, Project Fear, Death Walker. Pretty cool place, and they've invited us to come here and film. We'll talk more about the hauntings and the history of this location in just a minute. Alright, so the hospital on College Hill was named after Wallace J. Williamson. It's called the Wallace J. Williamson Hospital. It's actually down the hill now. It got relocated several years back. He was the son of Benjamin Wilson, who once owned all of the land that is now known as the city of Williamson. The old hospital on College Hill opened on March 3rd, 1928. And it was opened after a fire destroyed the original structure downtown in the winter of 1926. So this served as, it's the only hospital anywhere around, or was. Tanya, one of the owners, told me that a lot of people she knows, parents were born here. And then I read that we saw a lot of coal mines on the way up, and coal mining's always been really big here. So all the coal miners would come here after incidents. There were a lot of deaths and amputations.
This is a pretty cool shot. Let's get this real quick.
Yeah. It overlooks the city of Williamson from up here. You can see everything. It's crazy. Crazy good view. I think she said that they do weddings over here sometimes, and it's overlooking the city. It's just awesome.
A quick shot like this.
And then over here we have the old nurses' college. I guess it was a college or school. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah.
And Tanya said that they're actually trying to raise funds. We'll have a link to their PayPal where you can make a donation if you want to help out with this. They're wanting to transform it into like a bed and breakfast or maybe a hotel, so that people who come here to do investigations can stay. Just like the hospital behind us, there's stories of people seeing figures in the windows and hearing all kinds of strange sounds. Who knows, maybe we'll capture something in one of these windows here.
And one thing is, looks like it's only 2 stories, but she said it's actually 7.
Really?
Right? So we'll get a shot down there and look at the back side real quick.
I forgot about that. Oh yeah, it's down there.
There we go. And all the way down.
Yep, now I can see why it's 7 stories for sure. Good remembering that. I did not remember that.
And these were connected at one point directly beneath us.
An underground tunnel.
But it has now been filled in. I don't remember when she said that happened.
Yeah.
But
and
cool.
Here's the front. It'd be really cool if she can save this place, and the roof needs to be repaired. And you can see the windows. I'm sure there's a bunch that needs to be done on the inside. Definitely, if you can, make a donation so they can save this place. She really wants to save this place next to it. But yeah, just needs it's going to be the funding. And here's another shot of the old hospital.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, both buildings are pretty awesome, and she says they're both haunted.
Quick view of this side, I guess. Why not?
Yeah, why not? It's so cool.
All right. There it is. Back to the hospital.
Jimmy again. I'm here with Tanya at Hospital in College Hill. Thanks for having us.
Hello, thank you guys for being here.
We're really excited about this one, but do you want to start off showing us the newspaper clippings and stuff here?
Sure. We try to put as much of the history of the hospital for people to see as much as possible, but we thought some of the cool things to include would be old pictures of what the hospital looked like. As you guys know, this hospital was opened in March of 1928, so she's 95 years old. This is a picture of probably closer to when it opened, if you can tell by the make of the cars.
Wow, those cars are awesome.
It's probably taken in the 30s. So that's what it looked like when it first opened. And then here, a wonderful lady sent us a picture of that. It was closer to when the hospital closed. It was taken in the 80s. When the hospital stopped being a hospital, they turned it into a clinic. So that's why you see the extra addition that was built on. It looks a little bit different than the original. And then we also have things like we found a big barrel of nurses' patches that was actually located in the nurses' college. They've been in there for all these years.
It looks perfect.
Yes, Charlie found them, and they were that wide. So we're working on them, and we found probably 500 to 600, if not more of them. So they'll probably be in our gift shop when we get it ready open for people that collect patches or want some part of our history. And then this was our first logo. We were called Williamson Memorial Hospital. So that was the first initial logo. And then one of the articles that I really love to read is the very first one when the hospital first opened up. It tells you how much the hospital cost to build in 1928, and it was $175,000, which if you think about that time, that was a lot of money. So today's time it equals around $3 million.
Wow.
So, but we try to put a little bit of history in because we have folks that come just strictly for the history of the hospital because they love that. We're in the Appalachia, so they want to know more about that. So, but we have spooky stories as well. So we just kind of set it up for people to look at. We got more to add.
Okay. Well, I guess we can head on in.
You want to head on in?
All right.
Come on.
Let's go, Donald.
We'll start if you guys can see.
Can you see everything? Okay.
Yeah, let me know. Okay.
Reposition a couple of times.
We'll kind of start with these two gentlemen, and then I'll let you guys take a walk through of the first floor. I wouldn't feel right doing anything without kind of paying respect and homage to these two gentlemen because they are the co-founders of this hospital. This doctor here is Dr. Salton. He was one of the co-founders and very important to the Williamson community. He went on to be a doctor for a very long time, and as you can see, he passed away in 41. An interesting fact is that Dr. Conley and Dr. Salton passed away within a year of each other, so we found that pretty interesting. And they both passed away in their 50s, so they died pretty young. But the Salton family played a huge part in Williamson. His son, Dr. Salton Jr., went on to be a doctor here as well and delivered a lot of babies. He did a lot of, medical practice here. And the Salton family, they were originally from New York, and then they stayed here in Williamson. They fell in love with the area, and he and most of his family is buried in a local cemetery close by. Dr. Conley is kind of our superhero, and he built a house just a couple of steps down from the hospital that you can rent if you come to visit us. It's a beautiful house. He loved the area. He's originally from Louisa, Kentucky, and he teamed up with Dr. Conley. They met each other in 1914, believe it or not.
Wow.
So they knew each other. But the first Williamson Memorial Hospital was actually located in downtown Williamson, and it was a 3-story wooden structure. And in 1926, I believe, the structure caught fire on the first floor. And if you guys know, with wood, everything goes up pretty fast. So thankfully, he was just a quick thinker. He didn't want anybody to get hurt. or pass away. So he put everybody up on the 3rd floor. He had nurses throwing out mattresses out the window, and he had the nurses jump. So then he started tossing children and patients to the nurses so everybody could survive. But sadly, the hospital did not, so it completely burnt to the ground. But thanks to his quick thinking, nobody passed away in that fire. There were a lot of people that got hurt, but nobody passed away. So that led to him teaming up with Dr. Salton, and they said, we got to build a bigger and a better one that won't burn down, and here we are today. They have this one. So Dr. Conley and Dr. Salton were a great team. Another interesting fact about him, and what we like to tell our groups that come in to do overnight investigations, he was also what we would probably refer to as a veterinarian today. He would not only operate or treat humans in this hospital, but he would bring animals in here as well. So one of the spooky stories that kind of follows Dr. Salton was that he operated on a horse in this hospital.
I read that.
Yeah, he operated on a horse, and horses were big in that era. They were people's transportation. Yep. They were people's work on their farms and houses and stuff. But sadly, he tried to save the horse's life, but he couldn't, and the horse passed away on the operating table. So they say certain times of the year you can hear the horse gallop through the hallways. Ooh. So some of our paranormal groups do pick up animal sounds when they're investigating, and if I don't remember to tell them about Dr. Salton, they're not quite sure why.
Yeah.
But there's a lady that lives here who will even tell you, if she was here today, while she was a patient here, she kept seeing a white cat go through her room, and she was convinced that it was a real cat, and she kept telling the nurse, there's a cat in my room. And nobody believed her, but she swears she saw a white cat. So it would make sense because he brought all kinds of animals into this hospispital.
We saw a white cat on the way in. Just
down there.
Yeah. It was just down, just down the street. It ran across. It was a skinny white cat.
It's I don't know if it's just coincidence or meant to be, but a lot of times Charlie and I will come up here, and there will be animals here at the hospital. We've even had some of our guests take some of them home because they tend to kind of flock here, whether it's dogs, cats, it's just kind of odd. So I don't know if they're just kind of drawn here or people just set them out and they're just here, but they tend to linger around and they like staying around this area. So could be because of Dr. Salton.
Could be. Maybe he's still taking care of them.
But yes, and this is the 1st floor. It changed over the course of the hospital's time. Again, some of the looks of the hospital will still look like the hospital would have looked like when it opened in 28, but when the hospital turned into a clinic in 88, some of the rooms changed. So you will see more of a clinic type setting than you will a hospital setting. But one of the things that we're really proud of and that we love to show off, she's not currently working right now, elevator. But we are working on it. We're hoping to have it fixed within the next month, is our original elevator. It is a 95-year-old elevator. A lot of people refer to it as the Titanic elevator because it looks like the movie Titanic's elevator. It
does, from what I remember.
Because of the gate. But it is the original elevator to the hospital. It does work when it is working. It's not right now, but we do allow people to ride it. We have it certified. Everything in it is original, including the buttons, if you guys can see that. The only thing that's not that we had to change was the lighting in it, but everything else is the original elevator, and it is the only elevator in the hospital.
I think they got in it in Project Fear, I believe.
Yes. We had a bad storm about a month and a half ago, and it kind of blew a few things, and the elevator was one of them, so we've got to get somebody out to fix it and get it all geared up before spooky season, because, that's part of the attraction. Yeah. Some people will get on it and some people won't, so, it's kind of those things. But the 1st floor was kind of a catch-all. When the hospital first opened, it was admissions. You had a little bit of the ER up here as well. And then when it turned into a clinic, it was more of doctor's offices, waiting room and registration and all of that stuff here. So if you guys would like to take a walk down the hallways and just look at it. This wing here, we just opened up this year. We had it blocked off. This is our 3rd year Going into our business, we couldn't have anybody down this end of the hallway because there were a lot of beds and medical equipment, and that was just here that we just knew you couldn't navigate through.
Yeah.
If you saw the show Destination Fear, you saw beds lined up at the hallway and all this stuff, so it took us a while to get all of that out. Now we still have some left, but at least now you're able to walk in and see some of the rooms. The other thing that we recently added is that big gray looking machine down there. Do you want to guess what that is? We can go down and take a look at it if you want to. The other thing I will tell you also is that piece of caution tape should not be moving at all. There are no drafts. There's no reason why it should be. But there are times that it will go crazy. It's actually moving a little bit right now, so we're not sure. This end of the building used to be part of the ER as well, and this is where the nurse that never clocked out, this is where she was coming in. So that picture that was captured that we have shared on our social media sites that Destination Fear and Project Fear showed, she was actually coming in the end of this building. So we're just kind of intrigued as to why we were actually going to take that caution tape down because there's still equipment back through there, but when we saw it doing kind of its thing, we just left it because we're just kind of curious if it's people spirits passing through. Yeah.
Oh, you should get this room, Donald. I just took a peek on our camera and the battery is almost gone.
It will drain unfortunately the hospital. Yeah. Like certain floors will do it. And the basement is the worst.
I've got a backup battery, but I saw that and thought it was neat.
This was not originally here. If you guys...
Oh, I think I know what that is.
Yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't belong on this floor. It actually belongs in the basement. Watch that. It's crazy.
What on earth? Where's that coming from?
Well, you can feel there's no draft. There are no windows.
There's no draft. I don't feel anything. No. Donald, come stick your hand here.
I think it's because it was an ER and trauma. I think it's just spirits, maybe nurses going back and forth. And man, it may be the nurse that never clocked out.
To look at too, there's some shrubbery growth. They're not moving at all.
Yeah, that's true.
Because there's two windows. Those things are hanging there, the vines. And they're just kind of chilling.
Has a Resident Evil kind of feel. Huh?
Yeah, it does actually. It really does.
It's not really moving.
No, not at all.
But this actually belongs in our morgue in the basement. But when they turned it into a clinic, they moved it over to the nurses' college. So Charlie and some guys were able to pull it back over, but this is as far as we could get it. So we're going to try to move it somewhere else, but it is an original body cooler to the hospital.
Is this the entrance with the nurse?
Well, this leads to the fire escape, but it does lead out to where that planter is next to the nurses' college. So that's where she was captured at.
Oh, look at that.
And then it'll just stop.
Yeah, it wasn't doing it really much when we got here, but once we started getting close,
they may want to talk
plus
to you.
The battery kind of went down.
I know.
I don't know.
Down the hall is when it's shut down.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is a new wing for 2023 for people to explore.
So it was not here when...
We did not have it open the first 2 years that we were open because there was just, as you can see, we're still working. But if you can shoot the creepy waiting area,
we can flip on night vision, I guess, or a flashlight. Yeah, it's completely dark.
It's kind of hard to see because there's no lighting there.
Night vision will just drain the battery.
Yeah, night vision will just drain the battery.
It'll turn, if you walk through there, it'll take you where the...
Now that one's not moving. That caution tape is not moving. That one's still moving. That's weird.
It is. It's really strange. And sometimes you come in and it doesn't move at all. But if you follow that little path through there, it'll just take you right back to where we first started.
Oh, okay.
And the nurse's registration and all of that.
Okay, cool.
And if you guys, you're more than welcome to walk down that way if you want to. It's kind of the same feel as this way. It's just more rooms. I will tell you the last room on your left has had a lot of paranormal activity. So you'll see a set of steps that lead to the fire escape door. It's the room before you get to that step. So you guys are more than welcome if you want to walk down that way. Or we can head upstairs.
We'll keep with you for now, and then we'll come back and get some pictures and some more video
Okay.
in a minute.
We'll start with the short wing first on the second floor. If you guys want to head down this way, I'll kind of show you some of the rooms.
A little more lighting here. The window's
Yeah.
open. That's nice.
Again, this was turned into a clinic in the 80s, so that's why you see the carpet and the door. This would have not looked like this when the hospital was an active hospital.
Right.
But the second floor is very fascinating. It's one of the hotspots for the paranormal world. My first experience was on the second floor with the paranormal, but the second floor was everything from admission rooms to birthing and nursery. I was actually born on this floor down the long hallway, and I'll show you the nursery, but my mom's room was on the third floor. So a lot of people were born on this floor, so a lot of lives started here. But there were some people that also passed away. We have some medical books and old pictures if you guys are interested in any of those. The door that's shut is where we let the paranormal teams, we call it base camp. If you rent the hospital overnight, this is kind of where your team will camp out. And the reason in that room is because it has a working AC, and we keep it cool for people.
Right here.
The battery was saying empty, and then it shot back up a bar. I've never seen it do that. That is so weird. I've never heard of this one doing that. Bizarre.
Yeah, definitely some nicer chairs in this room.
Yeah, that's where we let the team stay in there because we do have a little bit of power and that AC works.
That's cool.
So if they get too hot while they're investigating, they can come in here, shut the door, and it will cool it off for them.
Oh, yeah.
And they can just kind of rest. And then the longer hallway, a little bit more creepier. But again, it wouldn't have necessarily looked like this. These two doors are original doors to the hospital, but this was more of the clinic top.
Oh, wow.
But all of those rooms, feel free to walk in. Those were patient admission rooms. I will caution you about the third or fourth room on your left. There's some CPR dummies in there that our vandals had a field day with.
Oh, God.
So they look kind of creepy. But my first paranormal experience was going by that room right there, the second room on your right. I was just walking past it. We had an overnight team who had left, but I thought they had left, and I was walking past just kind of checking and making sure everything was okay. They didn't leave anything behind, and as I was walking past the door to my left, almost as close as you are, I heard a male's voice go, "Hey." So I stopped because it startled me. My mind just automatically went to the group to the night before because there were two males in that group. So I pulled out my phone, I stopped right there, and I started texting. And I said, "Hey, are you all still in the hospital?" And they said, "No, Tanya, we left about an hour ago, but we need to tell you, while we were packing up our stuff, we kept hearing a male's voice on the second floor." So I'm going to be honest, I did not handle it the right way. I was convinced somebody had broken into the hospital, so I searched this whole hospital. Yeah, I searched the whole hospital looking for a man. But long story short, I didn't find one. And this was at 8:15 in the morning. So I went home, did some thinking after I calmed down a little bit, and I started thinking, hospitals were probably pretty active at that time. Doctors were probably making their rounds. Nurses were probably doing a shift change. So as I was walking by the room, it could have been a doctor who thought I was a patient, or it could have been a nurse who thought I was a patient, or it could have been a patient who thought I was a nurse. And he wasn't angry. He wasn't mean. It's almost like he just wanted to talk. It was just a friendly little, hey, like he was trying to get my attention. So I screwed up and totally handled it the wrong way. I wish I could have a do-over, but I'm hoping he'll come back and talk to me again. But, until that happens, until, in my mind, I was kind of expecting that stuff at night, not at 8:15 in the morning. So I've learned to adapt to it a little bit better now. I handle it way better now. But then it was just, it startled me. It really did. I'm not going to lie. I thought, wow, because it was so clear.
Yeah.
It was so clear. And I know I didn't hear it. There wasn't anybody outside. I was in this building by myself. And
I mean, I'm I don't know if the train's been running, but I don't hear that at all either right now.
Yeah.
If there has been any trains.
Yeah, there's
So-
trains that run by every so often.
But I don't hear much from outside at all.
Yeah. But feel free to walk around, look in the rooms. Like I said, it was mostly known for patient admission rooms and
I definitely see
birthing.
what you're talking about.
The nursery was down on this end, and then when they turned into a clinic, I think this was the cancer floor.
Okay, yeah.
So there were some cancer
Wow.
patients treated on here.
Okay, so our video went out on the third, fourth floor, and the basement, and Tanya has joined me today to talk us through the history on these the floors in the basement, so that we can bring you guys this video. Tanya, if you want to take it away.
Sure. Welcome to the third floor. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm telling you in the video.
Yep.
The wing that we are actually in right now, as you watch the video, is the short wing of the third floor. It was patient admission rooms, and then also on the longer floor, it was also maternity, expecting mothers as well. But the short wing that we're currently on right now was the, I guess what it's most famous for is the story of Mose Blackburn. He was a local city police a local restaurant owner who, back in the 60s, was found, him and his wife got into an altercation, according to the newspaper articles, in his car. And some concerned citizens called the police. 2 city police officers responded. And when they approached the vehicle, for whatever reason, Mose pulls out a gun and shoots one of the officers in the head. The officer is brought to the hospital there and passes away pretty quickly in the ER. As you can imagine, there was a fight that broke out. Mose was hurt pretty bad. Some newspaper articles said that he was shot as well. Some don't. But I can tell you where we're walking to right now. The last room on your left was the room that he was put in. So that would have been his room. He was expected to make a full recovery. They did station a deputy outside of his door just to make sure he didn't try to escape. But for whatever reason, according to the articles, he asked the deputy to go to the nurse's station to get him a drink of water. And when that deputy did so, Mose takes off running and jumps out the 3rd-story floor window. Now, mind you, if you remember a picture of the hospital, that part of the built-on addition to the hospital was not there in the 60s. So it would have literally been a straight drop on concrete when he landed. So
So that that little spot was not there. The little
right, yeah,
drop
where we
down.
kind of have our little gift shop now. That was a built-on addition ladder in the built on in the latter 70s, early 80s. So when Mose was in the hospital, it was around 1962. So that was not there. So when he dropped, it was just straight down, and he didn't pass away. He was I think a doctor, if I read correctly, a nurse, and the police officer went to get him. As you can see down there, the drop, you'll see the part I'm talking about. That was not there. The little roof was not there. So it would have been a straight drop. They went and got him, picked him up. He broke his leg. So they went, fixed his leg, put him back into his room. And then, of course, there's some local theories and some controversial issues as to what really happened to him when he jumped out the window. Some people said that he did it to try to escape. Some people believe that he was thrown. Some people believe that he was haunted by evil spirits. But for whatever reason, like I said, he did not pass away when he jumped, but he was brought back to his room. But almost a month to the day that he jumped, he mysteriously passed away. And that what we're looking at in the video is a copy of his legal death certificate.
Yeah, I paused it on that. I think I remember was the cause of death was a broken femur.
Yes, there's 3 causes, and we leave, it's possible that it could have happened. We leave the judgment for everybody. who comes in to investigate. But what's on the death certificate basically is that he died from emphysema, a fractured rib, and a fractured leg. So, to us, it really didn't make sense. But, if he had emphysema prior coming into the hospital, I guess it's possible.
Yeah.
But I just think it's unlikely.
Yeah, I think it was back then. It was emphysema was a bit different than it is today. I think
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Who knows?
Right.
Also, I think this is near the spot where one of our viewers, and it's not in this video, but that other one saw the face in the door crack, like right behind us.
On the 3rd floor?
Yep, I think it was the 3rd floor. The room, not the room that he was in, but the room next to it. He saw that face in the door crack.
Yeah, I saw that picture. That was pretty amazing. We get those captures from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like they're just kind of watching you to see what you're doing. They're curious.
Yeah.
I think they're just as curious about us as we are about them.
Could be.
But it was a great capture.
Definitely. Okay, I think that does it for the 3rd floor video. Okay. And now we're looking at the 4th floor.
Yes.
Night vision view.
We're on the 4th floor. Welcome to the 4th floor. It is the shortest floor of all the floors in the hospital, but by far probably one of the creepiest and most mysterious floors of the hospital. You had everything from pharmacy to surgery, observation rooms, doctor's lockers and showers, consultation rooms, and pretty much anything dealing with surgery and recovery rooms was on this floor. Now, when the hospital was converted into a clinic, some of that was taken away. Like our operational rooms are no longer there, but the observation rooms are still there. They had to put on a fire escape to bring it up to code, and some of the way that it looks mirrors more of what a clinic type setting would look like rather than a hospital. So some of the areas that you're seeing, we're looking down the hallway, that would be to doctors' lockers, showers, and their consultation rooms. And then on the other end would be the observation rooms, the surgery rooms, and I think we're headed that way now, and recovery rooms. The fascinating
handprint right there.
Yeah,
do you see that?
I think that was I think that was done purposely. I don't think that was
okay.
anything paranormal.
Okay.
There was a haunted house there a few years back, so some of that was left from that. But some of our lovely vandals had a field day with some of our paint and all that good stuff too. But the room that we're actually in right now is one of the observation rooms, and as you can see, it had a two-way window. Nursing, this hospital was a teaching hospital, and the nurses would come in, and when they had to watch a surgery being performed, they would sit in the area that me and you are standing in, and they would watch, whatever was going on for the day, whether it was a small surgery or a little surgery. But the other interesting fact about this room is that they would also they would invite your loved ones to come and watch the procedure as well. So if you had a mother or a child or a grandmother, grandfather being operated on, they would let a few, very close family members come in and watch it as well.
That'd be so odd. I think I mentioned that too. I had surgery, a big thyroid surgery last year. I think I mentioned that. I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine my family coming and watching that.
Yeah, I don't think I would feel comfortable with it either. But, in the 20s and 30s and 40s, things were a lot different than they are now. And I think the other interesting thing about this floor, this was also where Dr. Salton brought the horse.
Yeah.
You recall us talking about Dr. Salton. He would bring animals into this hospital to try to save them because he loved animals and he treated them just as much as he did patients. So this is the floor in the area that Dr. Salton brought. Here's the other observation room. There's a recovery room. He brought the horse up to this floor to try to save its life, but sadly it passed away on the operating table.
Didn't this equipment right here, I can't remember if you told me or if it was on Destination Fear or something that it goes off sometimes.
Yes, it goes off by itself. Sometimes you can hear it when you're on the third floor. Sometimes you can hear it on the fourth floor, but it's not. There's no power on that floor, and it's not plugged in, so it should not be working. It should not be making any sounds. But there's several pieces of equipment throughout the hospital. Some you can hear it as you're going through it, but some of it, if you capture it on video, you may not hear it until when you go back to edit or replay. It will capture hospital machines. It will capture the elevator that is not working right now. Just different sounds that you may not catch while you're there in person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this was probably one of the more interesting floors. Oh, and I believe I heard something about people have seen an apparition or heard horse noises on this floor.
Yes, this is the floor where the horse was. Now I've never heard it myself, but
Mm-hmm.
we've had other teams claim that they have heard animal sounds up there, captured animal sounds as well. And then probably one of our best shadow figures, we have them all throughout the hospital, of course, but one of the best shadow figures ever captured was actually on this floor. And it was by a family that was doing a YouTube channel. And they were setting up just to introduce their YouTube show. And they were not trying to capture anything at that moment. They were just setting up for an
Yeah.
introduction. And as they swung their camera around, they caught a shadow that looked like he was running down or she was running down the hallway towards the surgery area. Just trying to, I don't know if it was one of those code blue or code red or whatever they call it. He just looked like he was in a hurry, but it was a pretty amazing capture.
Well, that's awesome. I think that is it for this floor. All right, so we are now heading down to the basement. Tanya, do you want to tell us about the basement?
Sure. Well, welcome to the basement. It is probably my favorite floors of all the hospital floors.
Mine too.
Yeah, it's the creepiest, but it's also probably the most historic floor, as well as the biggest floor in the hospital. When the hospital first opened, it was everything from emergency room, trauma, x-ray, the cafeteria was down there, the temporary morgue was down there. They had amputation rooms, they had the incinerator, just kind of a catch-all for everything. So you could imagine all the trauma that went on in the basement. When the hospital closed in '88, and they turned it into a clinic, they put the pediatricians down in the basement. So you will see here probably just in a few minutes, if you scan the walls, there's like creepy children's border that still lines the hallways today. Because there were pediatricians there from 1988 until 2014. And then that's when the hospital shut down for good. There's the border.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pointing at it. So they kept it up there. And when we first purchased the hospital, the hallway was lined with children's pictures. So, out of respect, we went ahead and took those down. But if you see like squares or brown squares or glue squares throughout there, that's what was on there.
Okay. Let's see. I wonder what we're talking about right now. We looked at the toys back behind us on the wall. I knew that.
Yeah, some of the toys, the older looking toys we found in a closet. The newer ones, some of the paranormal teams leave after their investigations. If they come in contact with children's spirits, they always leave a little something for them.
Let's see. What are we looking at here? We're looking down the hall, I guess. I can't remember exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah, that long hallway, it was kind of different rooms over a various period of time. Like I said, it was emergency rooms. Down at the end of the hallway, that's one of the incubators. I think that was afterwards, but those rooms were just primarily for emergency situations initially when the hospital first opened in the 20s and 30s. And then, of course, at the end of the hallway, which I think we're heading to,
the two x-ray rooms are to your right and to your left. And
That,
those,
I think you said, is that where it looked like somebody had broken in?
yeah, unfortunately, we've had trouble with vandals. Just about, if you saw pictures of the hospital, there was air conditioning units in the windows, and the vandals would kick them in and basically just destroy property and, just make things a mess. You couldn't even hardly walk through those rooms a little while ago because they've done so much damage. So we've worked really hard to try to clean it up to where you can at least go in them now.
That's good. Yeah, I think you told me that they were just like the places here. They're breaking in and stealing the copper.
Yes. Yeah, you'll see like ceiling tiles missing. The room that we're going into now is one of the x-ray rooms. That I had an experience in that x-ray room. And then, of course, the other one on the left side is one that a lot of our team members had, volunteers, as well as tour guides that we have, people that have come through our tours. They've had experience in that one there.
I remember. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say things like your battery draining, flashlights going out, people getting sick when they enter the room. I think you might have heard a noise when we were down there.
We did. I think we heard it when we walked out of there. But yeah, we had battery drains, if you remember. And then, of course, the audio cut out in the middle of the video. Like
Yes.
The middle part of the video.
The basement is probably the world's worst for draining anything dealing with batteries, whether it's a video camera, a flashlight, phones. It's almost like it doesn't want you to video or do anything there, but it will drain. You could go down there and it'd be fully charged, and then the next thing you know, you're down to 10%. This floor and the fourth floor are the two world's worst for doing that. That's the other x-ray room that you're looking at right now.
Okay. I can't remember which one it was, but I just felt uneasy when I was in there, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, this
I
one
just
is
wanted
the
to
one.
leave.
Yeah, the one here, it would be to the left of the hallway if you were coming down the hallway. I had an experience with the one on the right, but this one that we're in now, a lot of people have had, just various. We've had tour guides get sick. Their flashlights go out. We had one tour guide. She was walking out of the room, and as she was coming out, she saw a man's face on the wall, kind of near where I was standing.
Oh, yeah. They were talking about that on Destination Fear.
Yeah, she still volunteers with us to this day, but she will not go down there by herself. Somebody has to be with her. So it just appeared out of the wall as she was walking by, and it freaked her out really bad. That's another, that's the x-ray room to the right. That's the one that I had the experience in.
Oh, okay.
That, if you could see the door, I don't know if they'll show the door, but you could see some of the old x-rays that were left there as well.
There's one we looked at right there.
Uh-huh.
I wonder how old that was.
Yeah, I'd say they're pretty old. Those were the old, you'd have to go behind the door there, and then they would be on the other side in that tiny room. Kind of the old way to do it now. It's a little bit different, but that door that's behind me, that's the one that kept shutting on me back in October of last year. And if you've ever been in the hospital, and I think I'm talking about it now, it's on carpet, and it's a really heavy door because, it was an x-ray.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I tried to.
Yeah, it doesn't shut by itself. It literally would have to have some kind of force, and it has a door stop. I think that's what I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
So there's no reason for it to shut on its own. And we were down there. It was probably around midnight last October, and we were turning everything off and just making sure everything was out of the building, that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, the door just starts shutting by itself. Now, I can tell you, I've been in this building hundreds of times in the past, 3 years. That door has never shut. It has always been open. And we were kind of shocked. And at first we thought, it's probably one of our volunteers messing with us. So Charlie took his flashlight and shined it back there to see if somebody was behind the door just kind of messing with us, but there was nobody there. So he slowly takes his hand and opens it again and pushes it back against the door stop. And then he takes a step back towards me. And we were getting ready to turn around and walk off, and the door starts slowly shutting again. So the only thing that we could think of that was going on, because it was our Halloween event time, we had a realistic fake body in that room.
Mm-hmm.
And she was, I mean, a lot of people thought she was an actress. It looked really good.
Wow.
So she was, of course, just a prop, and she was laying on that gurney. And the only thing, when Charlie went to open the door again, I just kind of grabbed his hand. I said, no, let it be. Let them shut it, because I truly think that they felt like, you know, you're in an x-ray room, there's radiation, and what do people typically do? They ask you to step out because, you know, you can't be exposed to the radiation. So I think they were working on her, or they thought they were working on her, and they didn't want us to interfere. So we left the door shut. And when we came back the next day, it was wide open.
Huh.
It was very strange.
I think we're really close to the point where we heard that sound. I'm pretty sure the all three of us heard it too. The woman screaming.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that was really weird.
I think I turn around and I'll look at you and then I'll look at Donald. No, that's when we find that was moved, if you remember.
Yeah,
you said it was in a different spot.
The duck is one of the older toys that was left in the hospital. It was in one of the closets. I don't know how old it is. I'm going to guess probably around the 50s, maybe earlier. It was one of those string, as I'm showing you, one of those cool toys that kids used to play with. But I usually keep it on the shelf, but sometimes teams will put it in the floor just to see if children will move it or spirits will move it. But it has moved. We've seen it go across the floors. We've seen it go from room to room. We can place it in one spot and come back, and it will be in another spot.
Dang.
So it's a little creepy.
I mean, it looks creepy.
Yeah, it's all, we really wasn't sure what to do with it, but you know, it was part of the hospital, and we figured maybe it was left there by a child, or maybe they bought it for a child. So we just didn't feel right throwing it away. Because that right there is where I typically have it placed. But sometimes I'll come back down to the basement, and it'll be in the middle of the floor. So, yeah. He creeps me out just a little bit.
Well, I'm glad you kept it. It's definitely creepy, but I do like it.
There was a duck, a little tiny Christmas tree, a rocking horse, an ABC cube, and I think one or two other things that we found in a closet that we kept. And where we're walking through right now would have originally been the kitchen and cafeteria.
Okay.
So, as you can see, vandals had their field day with that room too.
Yep.
They got up there and cut the wires, like you said. They broke in there. And then, of course, when the hospital stopped being a hospital and they converted it into a clinic, we're really not sure what they were going to do with this area. It looks like they pretty much gutted it. We're not sure if they were going to make offices out of it. But back through here would have been more of the cafeteria. And then eventually, when we go back through that door, it will be, that's heading towards where the temporary morgue was.
Okay.
That's what
and the incinerator too, I believe, wasn't it?
That's on the other side. I don't think we went there yet.
Yeah, it looked like they were trying to build some offices or something in that.
Yeah, it looks like by the frame of it, it looks like they were trying to build maybe doctor's offices or just something smaller, or maybe patient rooms. I'm not sure. But that's where the temporary morgue was. And then they kind of just moved everything to the nurses' college, got rid of a lot of stuff, and gutted it. So we don't have the plans as to what they were going to do with it when it closed. So, or well, when they turned it into a clinic, it didn't technically close, but so we don't really know for sure. But some of the EVPs and stuff that gets picked up out there is pretty sad.
Oh, really? What kind?
There have been things. I know one particular was a child. One lady picked up a child crying and asked.
Oh, that is sad.
Yes, and then women's voices. And then now it looks like we're headed to the part of the hospital that not too many people know about and that we find really interesting because people that used to work there or were patients there never knew this part of the hospital existed. This was originally part of the trauma. It was part of, the ER, everything. And then the incinerator room is here as well. So we're getting ready to show you that. You have to close that door and then you have to go down a couple of steps to enter into what I call the Freddy Krueger room.
Oh, it definitely
It's got that
makes
Freddy
you think
Krueger
of that.
vibe.
Yeah, it
It
definitely
really
does.
It's a different, it's kind of a sad room, honestly, but there's so many things that goes on in that room from time to time. There have been times I went down there and it's been so hot you can't stand it. Other times it'll be so cold you can see your breath. The smells in that room will change as well. Sometimes it will smell like burnt flesh. Other times it will just smell like a musty old basement. I know one time I went down there and it smelled like men's cologne. So it's just really, really odd. But there are two small doors. That's where I just walked to. And then a larger door on the other side. But they used it. It was like a catch-all for everything for the hospital. Back in the 20s and 30s, they didn't have a way to dispose of a lot of things. So they just threw them in the fire and burned it up. So whether it was amputated body parts or trash or medicine bottles or whatever they were trying to get rid of, that's where they would throw them at. So it's like a combination of everything in there. And it's kind of sad if you think about it because, we were told that even stillborn babies, homeless people, they were cremated and thrown in there and just, if that's the case, then that's their burial place and it's their home, and it's sad. But, again, things were a lot different in the 20s and 30s than what they are now.
I think I heard something that people from like the mine wars were treated here. Is that correct?
Yeah, we had a lot of coal miners, as you can imagine, because West Virginia is just a coal mining area, and most of Appalachian was. But we had this was the biggest hospital during its time, and of course, coal mining is a dangerous job, so coal miners would get hurt on the job, and they would sometimes have to have body parts amputated. Or they'd have to have surgeries and stuff like that. So there were a lot of coal miners that came through this hospital. And it looked like probably the room that we were just looking at, vandals destroyed that room, and it was a beautiful room at one time. But the rooms that we were just looking at, it looks like probably there was a blind back there. It's a burnt orange blind. So probably around the 60s and 70s, they converted this area into more of a maintenance area. So the tables and stuff that you see now are more maintenance type issues. It wasn't surgery, nothing like that. So, but some of the charts is still in there that we found pretty fascinating. So we just left it up.
Yeah, it's definitely neat seeing that.
Yeah, we're not sure why they would have them there, but we left them there. We thought it was kind of cool. But it was fascinating for us that people who worked there for years were not allowed back in this area. And maybe because it was hazardous because of the incinerator room, or maybe they just didn't want people knowing what was going on. We're really not sure. But it's very fascinating and kind of sad at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is the last room we looked at.
Yeah, that's the room that I think they turned into more. That the breaker boxes were in there. And like I said, you have to shut that door to even get to the incinerator room. And then that leads you back out to where the elevator was, right there.
All right, so we're wrapping up. We're about to head home from hospital on College Hill.
The old hospital on College Hill.
And we're
in Williamson, West Virginia.
Big thanks to Tanya and Charlie.
Tanya and Charlie, I believe, yep.
For letting us come here and film. Big thanks, huge thanks. Wow. And thanks to Tanya for showing us around. it looks like it's going to be an incredible video. Let us know what you think in the comments. If you know of a good place we could go film around in Appalachia, or if you're the owner like Tanya and Charlie and you want to have us in, contact us, spookyappalachia@gmail.com. Leave a comment, and make sure to share this out, guys, and don't forget to subscribe.